Oh, hello. Didn't see you standing there. In my last series of videos about Robert E. Lee coming to Warren County and to see his daughter's Annie's grave, I ran across a lot of very interesting things, but I didn't want to put them in the video because I thought it would get us off track. But I wanted to bring it to you later, and so I thought I'd make a little video about that now. But before I do that, I want to make a correction. In my third video, when I was at the headstone for Annie Lee, I mentioned that her mother's name, I said in the video her middle name was Curtis. That's wrong. And my buddy Pete Davis, he caught it and he sent me a message. He's absolutely right. Her middle name was Custis, and that is very, very important. And the reason that the name Custis is so important because her father was George Washington Parke Custis, and she was Martha Washington's great-granddaughter. Martha Washington had been married to Daniel Parke Custis, and how many people knew that she was married before George Washington? There you go. But she was married to Daniel Custis Parke Custis, and they had 4 children. 2 of the children died very young, and when Martha was 26 years old, her husband Daniel became sick and he passed away, leaving her a widow with 2 small children. 2 years later, she married George Washington, and when George became the first president, Martha became our first lady. So thank you, Pete, for getting me straight on that, and I thought you would enjoy that. The next thing I want to talk about is Annie Lee. I found out that when I was doing a little research on her, that when she was a child, she had lost sight in one eye with an accident with a pair of scissors. So anyway, when your mother tells you don't run with scissors, now you know why. The third thing that I found that I thought was pretty interesting, if you remember John White, he owned the Ingleside home there in Warrenton. Well, during the Civil War, he had been sent to England. He was a merchant and a fairly prominent businessman, and the state of North Carolina sent him to England to secure cotton bonds, the sale of cotton that would help finance the war. And he was able to secure those bonds and sell cotton for the state of North Carolina. And with some of that money, he purchased a fast steamer ship, a double wheel ship, steamship, and he named it the Advance. And if you know, I like hot rods. Well, Mr. White had 2 high pressure boilers installed on the Advance, giving it more power, making it faster, and it was very successful. It made 11 trips to Nassau, carrying cotton and supplies, and until it was finally captured by the Union. It was eventually captured, but it was the most successful blockade running ship for North Carolina, and I thought you would find that a bit interesting as well. The last thing I want to leave you with is about 2 old trunks that were found in 2002 in a bank vault in the basement of a bank in Alexandria, Virginia. Those 2 trunks belong to Robert E. Lee's oldest daughter, Mary. She was named after her mother. But Mary Lee, the daughter, was a world traveler. I mean, she had been all over the world. I mean, you name it. I mean, Spain, Japan, India, all the countries of Europe. I mean, she pretty much spent a lot of her life traveling. Well, those 2 trunks belonged to her, and they were full of thousands of papers about her travels and letters from her father and from her sisters and brothers and all the things. It was just full of information. Very interesting things. But one thing that stood out was there was several newspaper clippings about an event that had happened to Mary in 1902. In 1902, Mary was arrested in Alexandria, Virginia. Her crime? She refused to leave a trolley car section that was sectioned off for African Americans only. She had sat down in that section, and the conductor said, you can't stay here. This was during the Jim Crow laws, and he told her she had to move, and she refused. And she refused 2 times more, and they arrested her. The police came and arrested her. Once they found out who she was, they turned her loose, they released her. And there's really not much other information about it. Don't know whether she was making a big protest about the inequalities of the time, or whether she was just tired and didn't feel like getting up. She was a pretty strong-headed woman, I believe. But either way, she felt it was important enough to save newspaper clippings from the event and put it in her trunk. And they were clippings from all over the world, a lot of them actually congratulating her for standing up against what the world is seeing as an injustice. So I'll leave it at that, and I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, I thank you for watching.